Hey there! I know it's been quite a while since my last video, and I promised there would be videos more often, but wouldn't you know it, I'm still just as busy as I always was. But I had an idea, had some thoughts, and as you can see, this is just my thoughts. Not really geography related, not really puzzles related, just a little GeoGesser brain dump. My oldest child graduated from high school in June and is headed off to college at the end of the month, class of 2028, which is insane to me. I don't know how to explain how it feels to have started out with a human who literally fits in your hands, and now they are like 6 inches taller than me and like a better traveler than me. We were just back east last week. I came back with some travel crud, so forgive if my voice sounds a little weird or if I have to stop to cough or sniffle. It's not COVID, it's just some stupid cold or something. But, you know. Anyway, happy to be back in California where it is not 96 degrees with a dew point of 75. It was so hot. Anyway, so what I thought I'd talk about today is now that I have raised a child almost to adulthood, and have three others on their way up, I guess I know a few things about parenting, and I thought I might share some of my thoughts on that. So here are 20 things I've learned as a parent, some more general, some more practical, that may or may not help you if you one day choose to have children, or if you currently have children who are younger than mine, or if you have children who are older than mine. Maybe I'll give you something to think about, or maybe you'll have something to add in the comments. So here we go. And I think this goes first for several reasons. I'm going to kind of do these in three categories. There'll be sort of general things to think about throughout your whole parenting journey, stuff that applies mostly to babies and toddlers, and then stuff that applies to kids specifically as they get older. So this first one, I think, is the number one most important things to remember when you're a parent, and that is that your kids are their own people. They are not extension of you, they are not a copy of you, and they are not there to fulfill your dreams. I think people who impose their dreams on their children do their children and themselves a disservice. So remember that just because you desperately wanted to do ballet as a kid and your parents wouldn't let you, you don't force your kid to do ballet. You take that lesson and let them do the thing they want to do. So that's like sort of like the top most important thing. This next thing comes from many sleepless nights of kids being sick, visits to the ER, all the things, all the troubles that your child can go through, or things that you can go through as a parent. And that is 5 words that someone said to me many, many years ago and have stuck with me all this time. You can do hard things. You can do hard things. That's it. Sometimes you have to get through things. Sometimes you have to deal with something you didn't expect to have to deal with. Sometimes something goes very much not in the direction you expected. And you're going to struggle. You're going to be stressed. You're going to cry at night, but you can get through it. And especially as a parent, when it's for the sake of your kids, for their well-being and their health, you absolutely can get through this. And the third one is somewhat related. This too shall pass. The number of colds, flu, COVID, stomach bugs, all sorts of things. You don't sleep, you're worried, you're calling the doctor in the morning, all of these things that are hard, that are stressful, they pass. Give it a week, you'll have a different problem, hopefully. All right, this fourth one kind of tacks on to the first one, and I think is one of the other really big, big things that I think you need to remember as a parent, and that is that it is your job to prepare your children to become contributing adult members of society. You want them to know how to navigate the world. You want them to be able to then turn around and make the world better. They're not just little you, they're the next generation. They're going to influence what happens next. And presumably, If you have certain values, you want to make sure that those values are passed along to them so that they can then grow up to live that kind of life. And the fifth one in my general category, if your child does need some kind of help, that is not a failure on your part. But not getting them the help they need is a failure on your part. So if your kid is struggling with their mental health, find a way to get them help, whether it's through their school, whether it's through private therapy, whatever, find a way to get them help. If they're struggling with some kind of learning difference, find a way to get them help. Public schools in the United States are required by law to offer support to children who need it. Find a way to get that help for them. All right, so let's move on to stuff for people with young babies or who haven't had babies yet. The first thing that I always tell people is just when you think you've got them figured out, they change it up on you. You've got their nap schedule figured out. You've got a routine in. You know exactly they wake up at 7, they nap at 10, they wake up at 12, they nap at 3, they wake up at 4, they go to bed at 7. I've got it down. It's perfect. Give them 3 months, they'll have a completely different routine. You're not doing anything wrong. They're just growing, developing, moving on to the next stage of their development. So don't get cocky. The second one, every kid is different. Just because you had one kid and it went great doesn't mean the second kid is going to behave the same way. They might be easier to handle. They might have different issues. A lot of people, their first kid is a dream and they pat themselves on the back and say, wow, we're such great parents. And then the second kid comes along, gives them a run for their money. That is a completely normal thing. Beware the third child. Point is, just because something worked with your first kid doesn't mean it's going to work with your second kid. Just because something worked with your little brother doesn't mean it's going to work with your kid. Just because something worked on you doesn't mean it will work with your kid. You have to try different things and see what they respond to. All right, the third one, kind of echoing that, routine and consistency are really, really important, especially for little kids. Toddlers really thrive on knowing what's happening next, and they melt down when they don't understand what's going on. This continues throughout life, but they get better at adjusting to changes, and you get better at sort of understanding what is going to cause stress. So if something's going to be different, even if your child is not extremely verbal yet, they usually understand a lot more than they can express. So talking them through what's going to happen, making sure they understand the transition from one thing to the next can be really, really helpful. All right, this one I was just talking about with my friend who has a 16-month-old. Keeping your kid up later at night doesn't mean they're going to sleep later into the morning, especially with babies and toddlers. As they get into later elementary school and teenage years, yes, that will probably work. If they stay up later, they'll sleep later. But with babies, it doesn't work. They just get overtired and they sleep worse. And if you think about yourself, it's actually true for adults too, but we're better at sort of putting ourselves back to sleep or kind of having in our heads like, no, I'm going to sleep into the morning more. Some people, even adults, are not capable of sleeping in. And then if they stay up too late, they'd still wake up at 6 a.m. and they're still tired. So think about it that way. It makes perfect sense. Babies often need a much earlier bedtime than you expect. They're going to wake up at the same time every morning, whatever time you put them down. All right, next, you can't spoil a newborn. Babies need to be held. Literally need. Babies need human contact, cuddles, love. If they're crying, pick them up. Please, if they're crying, pick them up. Hold them, carry them, wear them. There are all kinds of ways to strap a baby to your chest so you can continue on with your day. If the baby needs to nap on you, honestly, enjoy it. It doesn't last that long. It can be frustrating in the moment, but it's a baby. Babies don't stay babies very long. See above, this too shall pass. The next one, also about sleep. Sleep is like one of the biggest things when they're little. I found almost all of the complaints I had when my kids were little was about sleep. I wasn't getting enough sleep. They weren't sleeping well. It was awful. But again, this too shall pass. So I believe that if it's mutually acceptable, it's perfectly fine for your kids to sleep in your bed with you when they're little. If the only way that you and your kid can sleep decently through the night, let them sleep in your bed. It will not harm them. It will not harm you. Well, unless it's like the kid is horizontal across the bed and you're squeezed into a little spot and your back hurts when you wake up because you couldn't move. That, physically, yes. But emotionally, they're going to know that their needs are being met. They're going to know that you're there for them. They're going to know that you're safe. And that is super duper important. And if there comes a time where you just cannot have them in your bed anymore, then you'll find another solution. But if it's working and everybody's fine with it, it's fine. All of my kids sleep in their own beds the whole night, all by themselves. And all of them, most of them, shared their beds with me well into their toddler years. This one sort of goes with discipline as well as sort of generally raising up your child. And that is, make sure that you tell your kids what they should do, not just what they should not do. So for example, if the child is angry and when they get angry, they hit, you can say, hey, it's not nice to hit people. It hurts them. But if you're angry, it's okay to hit a pillow. Give them an alternative. Give them the positive action, not just the not do. And this can apply in other ways too, giving them scripts when they get a little bit older of how to deal with maybe they're being teased, help them know what to say, not just what not to do, but what to do. I find, especially for myself, I felt like a lot of times I was missing out on, okay, I know I shouldn't engage in a particular way, but I don't know what I should do. I don't know what I should say. I don't know how I should respond. So I think it's really important to remember that we need to learn what to do, not just what not to do. And the final one in the little kids section is let them figure stuff out. The me do it phase is really hard because you just want to put their shoes on and get in the car. You just want to put the dishes in the dishwasher and move on with the day. But letting kids work stuff out for themselves gives them confidence, problem-solving skills, and will eventually pay off because they will learn a skill that will benefit them. You don't every time have to let them do it. If you have to get somewhere and you can't spend 20 minutes waiting for them to figure out how to Velcro their shoes, that's fine. It doesn't have to be every time. But when you can, let them figure stuff out. Obviously in a safe area, not that they're going to stick a fork in an electric socket. That's not what I'm talking about. But any kind of skills, any kind of puzzles, don't do it for them. Don't rush to solve problems for them. Let them figure it out. Let them try to figure it out. And now, your kid is maybe older elementary, getting into teenagehood. And these are things I think it's really good to remember even as your kids get older. And the first one, the one that I personally subscribe to, the one that I try to do a little of every day is be silly. Have fun with your kids. We have inside jokes. We have funny little things we tease each other about that are very gentle, not teasing about like appearance or anything, just stupid little things. We have funny little, little inside jokes that if we did it around another person, they would think we were nuts, but we think it's funny. Do those things. Be weird. Just tonight with my almost 13 and 10-and-a-half-year-old, they asked me to turn out the light in their room so they could go to sleep, and I pretended I didn't know how to use a light switch, and they were trying to give me instructions. It was ridiculous. It was stupid. It was funny. We all laughed, and then I turned out their light. It's little things, little connections like that, I think, make life fun, make having kids fun, and inject a little bit of joy, especially in these hard times. The second one for older kids, let them be bored. Let them be bored. Don't always try to find things for them to do. You don't have to fill up their schedules. Sometimes just let them sit and find themselves something to do. It's actually good for you. Good for kids. It helps with their creativity. It helps with, again, problem solving. They're bored. Let them find something to do. Whether you may make suggestions, hey, you've got a room full of Legos, or you've got a bunch of books, or we can go to the library, or something like that. But like in the end, they will eventually find something to do. You don't have to fill up their schedule for them. You don't always have to program every minute of their day. All right, here's one that's super practical and I think is overlooked a lot of the time. Teach your kids to cook and teach them how to do their own laundry and then make them do it. These are two skills that I know a lot of people show up to college not knowing how to do, especially laundry. It's not even a stereotype of kids bringing suitcases full of dirty laundry home to wash them, to have their moms wash them at home for them because they don't know how to do it. Teach your kids to do their laundry. It's not very hard, and it takes one task away from you. When they're old enough to put their clothes in the washing machine by themselves, pour an appropriate amount of detergent, and work the buttons, they can do their own laundry. They don't have to fold it and put it away. Although that's usually the easiest part of teaching a kid to do laundry, because little kids like to sort and put things away and do those things. So let them. You can play match the sock if you want. But as they get older, why are you still doing their laundry? Let them do their own laundry. Let them deal with it. And as far as cooking, and if you don't know how to cook, you can learn together. Even simple things, how to use the toaster, how to use the oven, how to boil water on the stove. Those are basic skills that everyone should have. I firmly believe this. My 2 older kids cook dinner regularly. They're better cooks than I am. It's fantastic. It's great. Teach your kids to cook. All right, this one, be a safe place for your kids. Love them unconditionally. Make sure they know that they can come to you with anything and that you will not reject them, be angry with them, and that you will try to understand and that you will try to help them in whatever way they need help. Because it starts off with small things, like wanting to tell you about something they saw on TV or something their teacher did at school, and eventually it could be a big thing, like exploring their gender and sexuality, something terrible going on at school, something going on with a friend that maybe you can help them with. Be a safe place for your child. The next one comes on with this one. Remember that they hear everything you say and they internalize more than you expect. Don't say things about other people that you wouldn't want them saying about other people. Don't say things about yourself that you wouldn't want them saying about themselves. They hear you when you say you think you look awful in this outfit because you look fat. They hear you when you comment on other people's race or appearance or quirks. They hear you and they internalize it, and they're going to turn around and echo it. So make sure that whatever you are saying are things you wouldn't mind hearing them say back. That includes curse words, by the way. Now, on the flip side of that, I have learned a lot from my own kids. They have a different perspective on the world. They see things in a different way than I do. They have different influences. I'm telling you, this Gen Z generation, they are freaking amazing. You should listen to them. If you are Gen Z, good on you. Keep it up. They all have their own interests, and then they tell me about things they've learned, whether it's baseball stats, train schedules, city planning, I don't know, stuff going on with YouTubers. They all tell me things that they experience, and I learn from them. And I think that's super cool. And it's a super important reason to talk to your children. Talk to them. Let them talk to you. Sit and have a conversation. It's beautiful. It's really wonderful. And finally, number 20. My greatest joy as a parent, one of my greatest joys, has been watching my kids grow up and seeing who they are becoming. It's truly miraculous. It's truly one of the most incredible things, is to see this tiny person that you once held in your arms develop a personality, develop their own interests, their own style, their own friendships, and eventually they become their own adults. And hopefully by that point, they've become adults that you are proud of. I know mine have. Well, thanks for listening. Just sort of a stream of consciousness a little bit. Hope you enjoyed that. If you have anything to add, throw it in the comments. If this was interesting to you, you have any questions, feel free to ask. And I'll see you all in another video.